All right, drag racing fans. Sorry, some technical difficulties there. We are in studio now, ready to rock here live on Between the Slicks. And let me say this concerning Between the Slicks. It's always live unless I tell you. And we definitely do monitor the comment section. Feel free to comment. Feel free to interact. We want to talk drag racing right here on Between the Slicks. And I think we've got an interesting show lined up later on tonight, a little bit past 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to have Kaylynn Simmons on. She is the clutch specialist for Clay Millican and his top fuel operation. But I assure you, she does a whole lot more on that team than just clutch. Way more than just clutch specialist. And looking forward to getting her story, how she got into this whole drag racing deal and where she hopes it does go, and learn a little bit more about one of the fascinating people, period, but happens to be a lady out there in the world of drag racing. Drag Racing Central chiming in MMR. So we'll be chatting with her later on, as I have told you all many times before, right here on Monday Morning Racer. We want to get those drag racing stories that may not be the most common stories. Yes, everybody talks about the winners, and they should. They won. But there are stories out there beyond winners, beyond even the losers. And I really feel one of the top stories in the sport is the crew members of these teams. They are, in their own right, rock stars. And especially at the NHRA level, they are advertised as such, even though they may not be advertised in name that they are drag stars. And what do I mean by that? Well, the NHRA advertises this: every ticket is you can finish it, pit pass. And what does that mean? You're able to get up and close to the drivers. You're able to get up and close to the cars. But you're able to also get up and close to the crew members and watch them work and watch them plow through their craft out there, whether it's clutch assistant or specialist, or a individual working on heads, or the blower, whatever it might be. You're able to watch them work. It is one of the allures to going into the pits and watching. There's a lot of fans I've noticed. They, yes, enjoy the on-track action, but I've encountered many fans who will take the time. They're going to miss a round, possibly. They want to watch the whole process from car rolling through the pits after shutdown, into the stall, tear down, complete rebuild, back up into the lanes. It is a part of the spectacle. And I hope in the future that right here on Monday Morning Racer, we continue to have more stories from crew members. But I do hope, because I talked with Ryan Elliott about this, car chief on Cruz Petragon's team, that, hey, it would be pretty cool to just follow a crew member for an entire weekend. Like, they're there Thursday and you're watching setup, and you go to the motel back with them, and you wake up at the motel with them, and you just follow their entire day through the monotonous and into the strenuous of the race weekend, and see what it is they do. As we'll learn later on when we have Kaylynn on, it's more than just even there in the pits. And we'll break down all that she does, because it is way more than just the clutch. If you've ever watched her at a NHRA national event, or you watch any other crew member at a NHRA national event. And that's also to say, that's not just NHRA, that's Funny Car Chaos, for example, the crew's working on it. So, Carl, he chimes in here. He's like, hey, I wouldn't go if we couldn't get in the pits. It is one of the hallmarks, as of now, in drag racing, to be able to go to the pits, watch these ladies and gentlemen work on these cars, and see that part of the show. And I definitely think their stories need to come out more often. Drag Racing Central says you could argue that it's 90% crew, 10% driver. You could argue that. I think it's a moment-by-moment particular type of situation. If a driver is in a situation where they have to pedal the car, I think it definitely begins to swing the other way. Nonetheless, I think what would be said about from crew members and from drivers is that it is truly a team sport. We put a lot of emphasis on the driver. We put a lot of emphasis in drag racing, especially on the tuners or tuner, but it is a team sport. Your head guy has got to be on his game. Your clutch gal has got to be on her game. Your wing adjuster, as rare as that happens, but whenever it does, they need to be on their game. Everybody needs to be on their game for that car to turn on the win light. The Mark Banks experience says, pits are my favorite part. The pits are certainly cool. Guys, if you would remember, hit that like button for me and hit the share button and chime in. Where are you watching from? Facebook, YouTube, and if you're out there on Twitter, I definitely want to hear from you that you're watching on Twitter. And you all can follow me on Twitter right there in the bottom. That's at Mun Morn Racer. Twitter doesn't allow a full Monday Morning Racer, but Mun Morn Racer. And speaking of Monday Morning Racer and content that has recently come out, hey, the shop tour with Buddy Hull, that is out on YouTube right now. You can catch that on YouTube right now. We go inside Buddy Hull Racing in Alvarado, Texas, and see all the cool stuff he's got. Yes, including the Top Fuel dragster, but he owns, as he has said, his most prized possession, a fuel altered. We take a look at his BMX collection. You also get a glimpse into the comical restroom at Vertex Roofing and General Contractors. Also, there is the first peek of Buddy Hull's Racing blank. And I'm going to keep it there. You've got to watch the video to see what I'm talking about. But first ever seen, it's right here on this shop tour video. Also, a little bit of content from the Funny Car Chaos event down there at State Capitol Raceway in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Top Fuel returns to Cajun country. Dave Gallegos and Mitch King hopped in Mitch King's Top Fuelers, and they put on a light nitro show there at State Capitol Raceway. And I was able to capture it, and we've got that video already out from the Chaos Cajun Nationals on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube channel. You can watch that. Top Fuel returns for the first time in probably over 15 years to State Capitol Raceway. Let's go to the comment section really quick. And then we've got some drag news. Benson, North Carolina. Cool. Hey, did you happen to get out to PDRA since you were in Benson, North Carolina? Mario works on Jim Dunn's car. He also works on Lofton's car there in the Funny Car Chaos. It's definitely not for the faint of heart to work on nitro cars. It's 100% go soon as that trailer door opens at 7 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. and sometimes beyond. And Mario knows he's worked on a lot of nitro cars from Terry Haddock, Jim Dunn, and now Lofton's car, doing some tuning efforts there in Funny Car Chaos. Pat, thank you for watching on Facebook. We appreciate that. David's watching from Facebook as well. Dave W., good to have you along. Drag Racing Central says, you get to meet so many great people in the pits. Most crew drivers don't hesitate to talk to the fans. That's true. I think most of the time they're willing to be interactive. You just got to ask a question. Most of the time you're going to get your question answered, and they're willing to answer it. Eric says, nothing like standing behind a nitro car during a warm-up, especially a throttle whack. I completely agree with you. Thank you, Leverage Racing and Alex DeJoria and Terry Haddock and others for those throttle whacks. Paul Smith when he's tuning. And also, it's pretty cool to stand behind them at the line, too. It's an amazing experience. Eric says, shop tour with Buddy was great. Thank you, Eric. Glad you watched. Appreciate that. Carl says, Buddy Hull's got some toys. He does. Got some great bikes. Got a great boat. Definitely, it is worth seeing and experiencing the shop through the Monday Morning Racer lens. Well, guys, thank you all for chiming in. Remember, hit that like button. We're going to have Miss Simmons on just after 8:30. That's when we usually have our guests right here on Between the Slicks. Between the Slicks is about, well, anything and everything on drag racing. We're going to dive into some news right here on the show. It is time for, well, drag news. Yes, you cannot get more campy than that, but I had to do it. Drag news. Let's dive into what's going on in the world of drag racing. Thank you, John, for watching from Daytona Beach. It was a hotbed of drag racing at one time. Look into that. This man, Big Daddy Don Garlits, got back into an internal combustion engine dragster recently at Rockingham Dragway. You can actually check the Rockingham Dragway social media. They have this story out, but it's also on competitionplus.com. Don Garlits in Roy Hill's NHRA legal top dragster made several hits to do what? Even though this man is a combined 17-time champion in AHRA, IHRA, NHRA, in Top Fuel, even he has got to maintain or acquire an NHRA competition license. And that's what he was there for, and he got it done in several passes. He did make mention that with all those championships, having to do it per increment, the way it's set up, like it's, 330, and then you do full pulls at particular times. But that was a bit silly, but nonetheless, what he did have would allow him only to race super stock. Well, now he can even race up licensed to Nostalgia Top Fuel. Doesn't that sound weird? We're saying that Don Garlits is now licensed. It's amazing to think that way. But he hopes to. He plans on setting the speed record in his electric dragster April 23rd at Palm Beach International Raceway. So he is gearing up for that. And he acquired the license to be able to go out there and legally do it and not have any issues with the NHRA. So, Don Garlits back in a internal combustion engine dragster there. Roy Hill School, yes, that's still in existence. Buddy of his and also supporter of the museum and the Hall of Fame inductee dinner. So cool to see Garlits back out there with something rumbling behind him, and he was able to acquire his license. Let's turn to PDRA. What a great opening weekend the PDRA had there at Garlits Motorsports Park. Many, and I would have to say, last year was a spectacular year for the PDRA, and they kicked off their season with a great race, a race that I think can definitely set the tone. And if it is a tone setter for the year, then it is one that it may very well be better than 2021. Tons of door slammers, over 70-something cars. We actually had a 16-car field in Extreme Pro Stock. That has not happened in who knows when. It would take some Brett Kepner digging to find that one, I think. And records lowered, as well as interesting names losing and winning. I think we've got to start with Melanie Smme, not in Purple Rain, but rather in Side Piece with a new sponsor, Slice and Nice, on the side of the door there. Listen to this. There's been a stir around Melanie Smme and what she was able to do. And what she was able to do is in the performance sector. It's in the performance sector. That is that she lowered the boom. She lowered the record in Pro Boost with the Roots blower combination that she has. Friday qualifying. Listen to this. 358 with a 5. She's not done. Then she goes 357 with an 8. Oh, by the way, she's not done. She then again lowers it to a 356 with an 8. And coming into this race, the record was held by Kurt Stedding at a 359 with a 1. Her first pass blew it out of the water, much less her third pass at a 356. right here on Between the Slicks, we had Melanie Smme after her Snowbirds win, and you were able to hear from her. Well, that's what we like to do on Between the Slicks. Talk to these individuals that are even beyond NHRA and get to the scoop from them. And she said in that show toward the end of last year that they had been working on things, because you would see them bring Purple Rain out. Then they'd bring Side Piece out. They would try this combination. They'd try that combination. Well, whatever combination that they have found, it's working for them. And that's clearly apparent in the performance and setting a new record there in Pro Boost. But she did not go on to win the event. Rather, in that class, we'll see in a moment, Todd Tutterow got it. So Pro Nitrous, first and foremost. Mike Achenbach, the mountain man, he gets it done in Pro Nitrous. Jim Halsey went out early, the defending champion. Todd Tutterow, he picks up the win in Pro Boost. King Tut. Chris Powers gets the win in Extreme Pro Stock. He's the defending champion. And by the way, had the low ET of the weekend for the Extreme Pro Stockers at a 4.014. So conditions were extremely good for those naturally aspirated cars of the Extreme Pro Stock variety. And then a newcomer into the Pro 632 ranks, Alan Drinkwater, using the Placino's old 632 engine that took Johnny to a championship or two, gets the win in Pro 632. Again, a stellar opening weekend for the PDRA. Were you there? Chime in if you were there. Did you see it? Did you watch it? Did you watch it on Flow? But were you there? I heard it was very cool, but that it was, again, a stellar drag race. And Garlits is a great place to go experience a drag race as well. It is a very nice facility, and I always enjoy going to Garlits to partake in a drag race. There was a ton of drag racing action this past weekend. Let's roll on to the Southeast Gassers Association. As you can tell, I like my Southeast Gassers Association. It's got several banners, and in fact, the banner from this past weekend, I was not in attendance, but my dad picked one up. Shady Side right there, the Gene Kramer Memorial event. Gene Kramer, a pioneer of the drag racing world, especially in the Southeast and the gasser scene. That was his car back in the day. You see it there fully restored. He was racing it behind the wheel. He passed away last year after an incident in the car, actually trying to get it loaded up on a trailer. Eventually, he succumbed to injuries, not necessarily directly pertaining to the incident, but he did contract some type of disease in the hospital, and we did lose Gene. So now the Southeast Gasser Association, Quayne Stott heading that up. Gene was influential in him desiring to get into drag racing, and even the beginning of the Southeast Gasser Association. So Gene Kramer Memorial race, we now have it, and it took place there at Shady Side. My dad was there. My dad was Gene's crew chief, and he said that it was definitely a good event and a great drag race. The winners in it, well, A-Gas will start there. That's the top dogs, if you will, in the world of Southeast Gasser Association drag racing. Leslie Horn in the Chick Magnet. He qualified number one, if I remember correctly, and beyond qualifying number one, he reset the A-Gas ET record. And though they don't show times in the Southeast Gasser Association races, they do keep the times. And he did reset the ET record and went on to win the race. B-Gas, Colby Welch in his beautiful Moonshot Falcon Ranchero here. He was the number one qualifier, and he nabbed the win over what was 25 entries in B-Gas. He gets the job done there at Shadyside Dragway in North Carolina. Timothy Hall in the Scalded Dog from Abbeville, South Carolina. He wins, also was number one qualifier, and he made mention that, hey, this was like getting a huge weight off his back. They were in 6 finals last year and did not pick up the win, but he gets the win here in what effectively is the first race for the Southeast Gasser Association. Yes, they did have a race at Reynolds, Georgia, but there was timing issues due to weather, as I recall, and they even had to do like arm drops. So it all became basically an exhibition style event. And then one of my favorite classes in Southeast Gasser Association, Superstock. Rick Varner, Dirtman here in the Camaro, picks up the win, and also not pictured in AFX, Alan Platt gets the victory. So more great racing there in the state of North Carolina. Garlits Motorsports Park there in Benson, North Carolina, and then Shadyside Dragway as well in the western side of the state. The Southeast Gasser Association racing. And then just down the road, Woodstock, wow, in Darlington, like the Carolinas was the triangle of drag racing for sure. Now, for me, I was in the great state of Louisiana for the inaugural, I'll show you, see right over there, yep, inaugural Chaos Cajun Nationals, Funny Car Chaos, bringing the big bad show to State Capitol Raceway. State Capitol Raceway, we were told, had not seen anything with over 1,000 horsepower in like 15 years. But they got to see two Top Fuel dragsters match racing. They got to see 17 cars, essentially a B field for 16 funny cars competing of the nitro burning, methanol burning, nitrous assisted, even turbocharged varieties. And they also got to see the Dirty South Gassers, and there was a great no box program of sportsman racers as well. So it was a great show. I have heard nothing negative from the State Capitol Raceway fan base about what happened there in Cajun country for the inaugural Chaos Cajun Nationals. The winners in Funny Car Chaos, the B field, his first ever victory in Funny Car Chaos competition, Smiley Cordero. He picks up the win, and I can tell you he lives up to his first name there, Smiley. He was all smiles for sure, picking up this win in his beautiful maximum overdrive nitro-powered Camaro. It was very cool to see. And then the A-field winner, Kirk Williams, in the Williams Brothers Racing 200 proof funny car. He gets the win, and this gentleman, you can see him all the way to the left holding the trophy up. He is someone that went neck to neck with Ken Singleton last year and gave Ken a great run for his money in the championship. And I want you to notice on the car, Ken Singleton, who suffered that horrific fire and is still dealing with the effects of what he went through and is each and every moment attempting to overcome what he went through. On the window there of Kirk Williams' funny car, you can see the special print. It was a fundraiser print for High Risk Racing, and Ken Singleton has got it right there in victory lane on his funny car. I interviewed Kirk, and he said, you know, if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. And he's like, the man's not here. We're glad to pick up the win, but we're definitely thinking about Ken. So it has been great to see, with all that has happened in Funny Car Chaos, how the funny car family that is Funny Car Chaos has rallied around Ken Singleton High Risk Racing. Congratulations to Smiley and Kirk for their wins at the inaugural inaugural Chaos Cajun Nationals there in Baton Rouge. Pat says they were awesome. We were there. I believe you're talking about the Garlits race. I think that's when that came in. How is there ET records if there's no time? Well, it's because the series keeps track of the time. It's not shown, but the series does know. Think of it kind of as a in competitors type of record system. Also, if you don't know the time, and you never know the time, but you just told that someone did reset the time, So what if you don't know it or not? What they've done in the Southeast Gassers Association, they're keeping track of the times, but they do not show them, which has over time produced the reality. Well, this guy may be faster than this guy in the other lane, but you don't know that. Therefore, people stay to watch and see what is going to happen, because it's not always the case that the faster guy wins, especially in Southeast Gasser competition, with as wild as those cars can be in a gas. I mean, none of them seem to launch without standing them all the way to high heaven, as it were. And you got to remember, they're shifting those cars manually. There is no assistance whatsoever. Oh, they don't even have shift lights in them no more. It is all done manually. It's pretty spectacular what they're doing in Southeast Gasser competition. Sam Smith, my co-host on the Competition Plus Power Hour. Drag Racing Talk, Blizzard, a few drink deep. I'm enjoying life. Love you, bro. Oh, good, Sam. Glad to have you watching along. And we're going to have Miss Kaylynn Simmons on soon. She's actually in the green room. We'll be wrapping up this portion of the show momentarily. Dennis says he's chiming in from Long Island. Good to have you watching, Dennis. John, I tried watching Sega on Saturday, but it kept buffering and dropping. Don't know if it was my connection or at Shady Side. Well, I know that Quayne and Mitch, they're definitely working on that package, so bear with them. I'm sure you will see a production later on. I think there's actually already something on YouTube of the Southeast Gasser Association that which you can go watch, and it probably has the buffering already out, and you can enjoy if live it was doing the buffering and things of that nature. So that does it for drag news right here on Monday Morning Racers Between the Slicks. This weekend, I'm looking forward to some more racing. Maybe Friday night, I might just go as a fan to my local circle track. I love all types of motorsports, Anderson Motor Speedway. I don't know. I might take the camera with me and try to get the late models in. Always a good time watching late models there at the asphalt oval at Anderson Motor Speedway. But the plan is for Easter Sunday, I will be at Eastside Dragway. Who knew? In Waynesboro, Virginia, they have had what will be this year their 58th running of a funny car event. I had never heard of it, but they have been running funny cars for 58 years there in Waynesboro, Virginia, Eastside Speedway, funny cars. Who knew? I'm looking forward to seeing Matt and Robin Stambaugh. Actually, Mr. Naves, he was competing at the Funny Car Chaos event at the Cajun Nationals, and he'll be up there as long as they got the car repaired, and enjoy some funny cars in the Shenandoah Valley. They'll definitely light up the valley, and that will be a good show. But wow, 58 years running a funny car show out in the middle of nowhere at a drag strip, and just hearing about it now, that is so cool to hear that they've got a program like that going on there at Eastside Speedway. Chime in. Where will you be this weekend? I hope you're somewhere. Look, it does not matter if there is not a national event going on. We've got a national event coming up soon. It's going to be at Houston Raceway Park for the last time. And Funny Car Chaos in 2 weeks will be in Lufkin, Texas at Pine Valley Raceway for their grand opening. PDRA will roll on. So on will roll on. But that doesn't matter. If it is not in your area, don't sit on your couch. Get out there and go to your local drag strip on Friday night, on Saturday night, on Easter Sunday, if something like that happens to be going on, or Tuesday night. I remember Tuesday night testing tunes. Get out to your local track and become a fan of your local personas and your local racers. Be a fan of your local track. Unless they don't have good bathrooms, then I can understand why you might just want to sit at home and not worry about it. I can understand that. I'm kind of particular to that by myself. But we're going to transition and pay some sponsors, say thank you to some folks, and right after this commercial, we're going to have Miss Simmons on, and we are going to get the lowdown on her rising career in the world of NHRA wrenching. This word from Destroyer 1320. This all brought to you by Destroyer1320.com.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your center console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it in the neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at Destroyer1320.com, they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to Destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
Miss Kaylynn Simmons, how you doing tonight?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Man, doing great, doing great. Just been talking about drag racing, which is always a good subject, and looking forward to having such a great guest on as yourself. And man, look at the beautiful hot rod behind you.
I figured it was appropriate. I was actually still at work. I'm actually probably going to work a little more after this. You know, it's crazy trying to catch up from Vegas. It seems like it's only one race, but, you know, always work to do. So still hanging out. So I figured it was appropriate.
Yes, definitely appropriate and appropriate to the line of questions that I hope we definitely get to and kind of expose your work a bit, because I know the title is Clutch Specialist, but like you do way more. You do way more than just the clutch. So like right now, dive in. What are you working on there at the shop?
So right now, I mean, every week when we come back, I normally take the cover apart, the donut apart. I go through everything in the bell housing, pretty much clean it up, measure my levers, measure all my pull numbers, the shim packs under the donut buttons, and just make sure everything's in line, ready to go for the race in Houston. All of our clutch packages are based off of essentially literally everything I do, but the levers have to be specifically placed so that, you know, Jim O can make his tune-up decisions. So mechanically, I have to be sound to make sure that every adjustment he makes in the flows and everything is going to come in exactly when he wants them to come in. So that's pretty much what I'm working on right now. But I mean, this week we've done everything from rear ends to cutting clutch discs to servicing clutch parts. We crack checked the race car. I mean, it's been kind of all over the place, but it's all stuff that needs to get done.
And from what I understand, watching Instagram and your social media feeds, like you never have that thing hardly out of your sight. Like you're a part of the team that gets the car to the track and back to the shop, and you're there with the shop. So what's it like being on the road with the thing?
You know, it's wild. It's a part of the job that I never really thought that I would be a part of or like. You know, when I was going to college, everybody had told me you have to have your CDL, you have to have your CDL. No part of me was ready to drive this thing down the road, like none of it. So I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I'll go get my CDL. Like I can drive a manual. It'll be fine, right? What's a few more gears? It's very intimidating, 80,000 pounds rolling down the road, but I licensed in college. And honestly, that was 90% of the reason why I got my first job with Terry McMillan. 80% of my interview was about my CDL and if I could drive the truck, because they were in dire need of a driver. And I've realized now that's the golden ticket into getting a job out here. But now I love it. I love driving the truck up and down the road. You know, obviously it's a lot of responsibility. Every time we stop, we're checking the load, making sure she's okay, making sure everything we're carrying is okay. And just constantly watching everything. I mean, this is our livelihood. So if anything were to happen going down the road, I mean, really, it could be on us. I mean, honestly, it's probably one of the most dangerous parts of my job is getting to and from the track. But then once we get to the track, we have to set up the pit. So anything that you like as a fan see, the awnings, the flooring, the toolboxes, everything is unloaded and set up by the crew. So we get to the track, we set up, we get ready for the race weekend, we race, we load up, and then we head right on to the next track or back to the shop. So we're constantly a rolling circus per se, as most even the sportsman guys do. I mean, they show up and have to do everything on their own. We don't have anything special like NASCAR where they have their own truck drivers and stuff that get their stuff there. We are the whole show. And here at the shop, you know, I kind of run day-to-day operations here. Our full-time crew here at the shop is only 4 or 5 of us. So I kind of help lead them through everything on top of the clutch department. So yeah, it doesn't ever normally leave my sight, but I don't really necessarily got a problem with that, I guess.
What has been let me preface the question with, like, when I'm driving down the road, because I do a lot of driving to these events myself. I mainly drive, even out West Coast. This year, I've done the full trek driving in my little Kia Soul, and getting up down the road.
That's awesome.
Yes. It's already. I think I've already done 12,000 miles this year and 50 days on the road. It's been.
Oh my God.
Yes, I'm out there just as much as y'all are. So every time I see a hauler go by, I'm like, ooh, phone. Take a picture, and because I have never passed a hauler. Y'all are always going so much faster than I am, it seems. But what has been the most interesting fan interaction at the fuel island and the truck stop, or something of that nature?
Oh, okay. I've got kind of a scary story. Okay. So I got a couple stories. So probably the most interesting one, going down the road, of course, not a whole lot of people expect, one, to see a race hauler going down the road. Two, I suppose seeing myself as a young female driving said race hauler. I've had cars of young men stop, slow down, very awkwardly wave, stare, gawk. I'm shocked they didn't try to get their phone number out the window or something. So that's always interesting. Obviously, we always honk the horn and stuff for little kids. We get a lot of that. But probably the weirdest situation I had ever been in was I was at a fuel aisle fueling. My co-driver was inside running the car. And I was upstairs in the trailer checking on the load. This was a few years ago. We were in Texas, and I come down from the upstairs, and there's somebody in my trailer. It's like 1:00 in the morning, and there's no part of me that's having none of that. And so I kind of just hung out in the lounge, and this dude is in there, and he's just like, hey, is anybody in here? And I'm like, I'm not, like, this is something from a horror movie, right? Like, this is not okay. My co-driver's, I'm guessing, still inside. I have no way out of the trailer. So I end up grabbing a knife out of the hospitality drawer. This sounds so scary. And I just was like, hey man, you need to get out of the trailer. Like, right now, this is not where you're supposed to be. And he was like, oh man, I've never seen a race hauler before. I just want to know, like, what you got in here. I'm like, out, like right now, out. This is not okay. So he gets out of the trailer. He's just like, I just drive a reefer truck. This is so cool. I just wanted to see the inside. I'm like, yeah, 1:00 in the morning. Not really a good idea to be walking into somebody else's property. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, but no thanks. And that was the end of it. And I went and told my co-driver, I'm like, never, ever let me go up there by myself ever again. And not that I was ready, but, it was just, it's weird, how people, I guess, portray, like, seeing we're no different than anybody else. We're hauling a load down the road. And I was just like morbidly shocked that someone actually had the guts to just walk into somebody's trailer that late at night. So that's got to be my most interesting story.
That's definitely an interesting one, and I'm sure you will accumulate many more over the years, because the road is an interesting place. The more you drive, the more you will see, and it is
absolutely.
It is mind-boggling. Hey, we do have the driver watching. Clay Millican gives a couple of waves. Good to have you watching along, Clay. So
what's up, Clay?
With him chiming in, yeah, spill the beans. What is Clay like? What's it like working for Mr. Millican?
It's crazy because we get that question a lot, because he has an epic YouTube channel, and all of his followers and fans are always like, is he really what he's like in the videos? And the truth is, absolutely. Like, I see that guy smiling every second of the day. He's truly awesome to work with. And when I was over at Terry's, we were actually really close with Clay's guys at the time. So when it came time for me to move on and find a new job, it was kind of a no-brainer when Clay called. So I was super stoked to come out here, but he's always just a lot of fun. I love his taste in music. We're always listening to all of the best rap music. So we have a good time, and he's a killer driver. The feedback and everything that he gives us as a team has helped me expand my knowledge so much more and really understand what's happening in the race car going down the track. So it's been really, really cool to work with him.
Cool deal. Yeah, Clay's one of the good ones out there for sure in the NHRA world. Well, look, very quickly, back to the road thing. What's your favorite snack? Like, you stop, you got to get snackage. What's your go-to on the road when traveling?
Oh my goodness, that's hard. So we're actually really fortunate. So my team owner's mother-in-law, I'm gonna totally shout her out. She packs us snack bags. before every trip. So that's pretty awesome. There's normally fruit and candy in there. But if I'm like going into the store and I'm really like craving something, it's normally going to end up being salt and vinegar chips or Sour Patch Kids. That's normally what I'm buying. Like, absolutely got to have this right now.
All right. Kind of sweet and sour then, that type.
Yeah.
There you go. I like it. So let's get to the obvious question with everybody watching now and chiming in. How in the heck does a gal such as yourself get into the world of drag racing? And by the way, doing one of the hottest, nastiest jobs that there really is in nitromethane drag racing.
Oh gosh, this is crazy. So I started racing at a really young age. I started racing on dirt at 7 years old. My dad raced go-karts, so I wanted to race go-karts. He finally got me one. I actually won a bet to make that happen. But I raced all the way through until I went to college. And we never really could afford to move up. We would have loved to get into sprint cars or something bigger. But I mean, obviously everyone knows racing is super expensive. And I'm from a really rural town in central New York. So there's not like a lot of big time, like corporate or, company sponsors that I could just go chasing around to go-kart racing. So I did that. And when I was in high school, I went to automotive trade school. And that's where I think I really solidified that I want to work on cars. This is what I want to do. It was so rewarding for me. And I had a great time doing that because every kid wants to get out of high school classes, right? So going to work on cars during half the day was like, yes, please. So I did that. And when I graduated, I was young. I was 17. So I ended up going to a normal college for business for a couple of years. And then I realized not that I screwed up, but I'm like, I still have this dream. Like, I got to chase it. So I went to the University of Northwestern Ohio and I got my degree in high performance racing in automotive technology. And while I was there, I worked for the college. They had a race team that raced on public racetracks, and we crewed and drove the cars as students with the help of a coach. We got to travel and do a lot of really cool things with that team. And I got to intern at SEMA. I met a bunch of people. And I was dead set on going to NASCAR. Like, I grew up in a circle track family, so I'm headed to NASCAR, right? And I'm like 2 weeks from graduating. And I had a friend I went to school with reach out, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to go drag race?" I'm like, "No, I'm good. Like, I'm good. I've never been to a drag race. Dead serious. I had never even been to a divisional. I'd never seen a door card. Like, yeah, I'd watched John Force on TV, but I knew nothing. I was like, there's no way I'm going professional drag racing right out of college. Like, I know nothing. You don't want me. He's like, nah, I think you need to talk to my crew chief. And that led to the interview, mainly about the CDL. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you a chance. So if you want to come to the shop like the day you graduate, that'd be cool. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But I graduated on a Tuesday and I was at the shop literally the next Wednesday, like next morning, drove over to Indy. And on Monday we left for Vegas. And 7 years later, I'm here. I'm started as the clutch assistant on that car, and about 7 races in, our clutch guy left for another position on another team. So Rob Wendland was like, "Hey, so what do you know about Top Fuel clutches?" I'm like, "I don't know about Top Fuel cars yet." So really kind of like nothing. Like, I get the general concept, is centripetal clutch, like they're in the go-kart I race. I got it, but this is a big deal. He's like, "Well, you're going to do it." And I'm like, okay. The first 6 months, I will totally say, was a train wreck. Obviously, I was very green. I was very green to the sport. It took me almost a whole year to understand a whole shot win. I was still working on figuring that one out. So he moved me up, and we worked that entire year. And in that off season, we did a really hardcore reset of the clutch department. We started 2017 ready to rock. And since that point, I've just worked on growing my knowledge of being in this department. And so I guess, yeah, now I'm the clutch specialist is the term they use. And it's been crazy, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I do love the clutch department. They tell me once I get there, I'm never going to get out of it. I really hope one day I get to maybe touch another part of the race car, but it's super detail oriented and a ton of fun. So I'm all about it.
It's interesting. You mentioned Central New York, where you grew up. That so many people don't realize that. And you connected it to marketing, like there wasn't nowhere to go and get this big time sponsor, because Central New York and like the Southern tier, like there's nothing there's these small little towns, and it is not New York City. Like there's more rednecks than people realize in New York.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
They might not populate downstate for sure, but
yeah,
definitely a rich motorsports history there in New York.
Yeah.
They do love their dirt. They love sprint cars, big block modifieds, and things of that nature. So
big blocks are my favorite.
there you go. There you go. Yes. And they're a very interesting dirt car for sure. I mean, it doesn't look like they should go around anything, but they get those guys leaned out, and they're great in a pack. And I love it when they venture down here into the Southeast. But very interesting your journey from dirt, wanting to go NASCAR, and now you're in the world of drag racing, and you're stuck.
Yeah, I think I'm stuck for a little bit for sure.
Well, you mentioned moving on from that particular type of position. We've had a few folks ask, you hope to ever have crew chief to your title, move up that far in the ranks?
So I've been asked this a lot recently, and it's taken, all of a sudden this question has come on a lot, and it's taken me a long time to really think about it. And yes, I think long term that would be a great goal to have. But I also I'm very realistic about my goals, and I know right now the next step is I still have 4 or 5 other departments on the race car that I need to learn. So right now I would love to push for car chief. I would really love to move to the cylinder head department, or at least cross train in the blower department, build a short block, do the bottom ends, do all those things so that I truly know I still have the ignition system to learn and all that kind of stuff. Because I've hardcore focused so hard from the motor plate back that I know how to motor runs. And I obviously have been around it long enough that I've put a head on the car and stuff like that. But as far as building them and seeing what the traumas they go through, how to fix those traumas, I really want to be a part of that and move up into more of a car chief role before I really necessarily think about crew chief. Not that it's not realistic for me. I just, I know I need to take this one step at a time, and I'm a perfectionist, or try to be at least. So I don't feel like I even want to think about that until I know every department like the back of my hand. And then not that I love drag racing, but I also know there's a ton of other insanely cool motorsports out there. I think long-term goal in life, I've really been thinking about going F1 racing lately. I don't know how you get into that. I haven't even looked at it, but it popped in my mind. That's pretty cool to get to travel internationally. So there might be some other branching out I might do later on, but for right now, I'm in the heat of this right now, and I love working for Clay and everybody here. So I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon, for sure.
All right. Well, I know we got Clay watching, and with Clay watching, we can kind of get his side. I need to get him on the show eventually and have his side of this and many other side of things.
Yes.
But I'm going to bring up a very, let's say, traumatic moment. I think it is 2021, and you're at the track where it's the only time you're going to be up above the wall, and you're waiting for Clay to get done with his burnout, and things didn't go very well. It's this moment at Atlanta. He's off to the side, official coming up. There you are. We're still under COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
And Clay's getting out of the car. You're like, oh, you've done surrender Cobra here, Yeah. And I love this shot. Clay's like, what did happen on this?
So prior to us running, I want to say it was Leah, but I'm not going to quote myself on that. Had an event on the track. I think there was an oil down, and we sat there for a while. And what had happened was Mike, our crew chief at the time, went out to grab a last minute track temp. And Mike and Clay, everybody likes a lot of water in the water box because you got to do a burnout. And Clay does a burnout on his own, which is really rowdy. He doesn't necessarily use the throttle stop. He rolls into it and does it all with feel. So the water had dried up in the water box enough that when Clay went to go do the burnout, we essentially almost kind of did a dry hop. The burnout didn't go as planned, and nobody had necessarily checked the water box, and the track officials that were there, I guess, it just got missed, honestly. At the end of the day, that's what happened. And so we overheated the clutch. So when he got out to me, I could hear that the idle was high, but I'm also at this point, relatively new to actually being out on track. Like I was like 2 or 3 months into being out on track, backing up Clay. It's a new job for me. I heard the idle had changed. I was going in to try to close the blades a little bit for him, and he ended up moving the car forward and off the side of the racetrack. Clay is really, really good at feeling neutral on the clutch. He does that all on his own. I don't set a pedal stop. So he's able to push the pedal in and find the neutral position all on his own. So, but what happens when the clutch overheats, he may not have enough travel in the pedal to find neutral. And so at that point, he knew we were never going to get it in reverse to be able to back up and stage the car. So he just opted to pull over and get out of the car so that the other car could make their run. And I see Clay just commented saying that it was his fault. I guess you could say that. It was just a whole stack of, misled things that happened. It was just kind of disappointing because I believe that was round 1, if I remember right. So we had to take it back to the trailer and just kind of load it up and go home and think about the next one.
All right, I'm going to throw up a few photos of you at work. Let's talk about some of the other things you do beyond the clutch. Specifically, you mentioned checking the checking the track temp. There we go. And
yes.
Here you are, you're doing that. You're often up there checking the track temp, and you're checking the track out. So what's that part of your job like?
So essentially, I mean, most teams have a track guy. They have a guy that literally stays up there the entire time, and they're getting track info and sending it back to the teams. We don't necessarily have that at our disposal. So in my free time, since most of my prep work is done prior to qualifying days or race days, so I wouldn't say I'm just hanging out, but I have a little bit more free time than some of the guys that have to put the motor together and stuff like that. So I put the clutch in super early in the morning, and then as soon as we get there, and then I have a little bit of free time to be able to go up and check the track. So the main thing I'm checking for, obviously, is track temp. Track temp is going to determine what tire pressure we're running, how much primary weight we're running, really just how aggressive we can be with our entire package. So most of the time, we can change primary weight and tire pressure. Tire pressure, we can change all the way up till the car starts. Primary weight, we'll leave the bell housing open all the way up till about 2 pairs before we run, and I can change weight, stops, I can change secondary weight. We can make whatever changes we'd like. Checking the track temp going up for a normal run, as long as the weather stays okay, I'm more or less monitoring it. I'm also checking how they prep the track, if they scraped it, if it's feeling gooey or if it feels good. Both of the all the crew chiefs I've worked with have all done it by feel. We don't use a torque meter or the fancy tool they put on the ground and twist it to measure the grip of the track. I've just been trained to kind of go out there and squish my foot around a little bit and just get a feel for it. So I relay that information back to Jim O or whoever I'm working with, and then we make those decisions. The time where it could bite us is, of course, when you're in the lanes, you have an oil down and you're going in during like a run that might be around sunset, and the weather changes dramatically. That could lead to a dramatic amount of clutch weight taken off, added, wherever we're at, or a rainstorm comes in or the clouds come in. So mainly I'm just kind of tracking it all and trying to help the crew chief out by allowing them to stay in the office, make the tune-up calls, and take a little bit of that off of their plate.
I have seen you, I don't know if it's every event, it may be, but at least I have seen on several occasions, you are piloting the car to the staging lanes. The tow vehicles in front, it's being towed to the staging lanes. And I assume maybe it even coming back, even though I haven't seen that because I'm usually still up, shooting something. But yeah, talk to me about some interesting moments, just in the staging lanes and getting up to from the pits, because I have seen some interesting moments and almost wrecks and people getting run over. So yeah, any close calls?
Probably the closest call I had was with Terry's car. We were in Gainesville, and I know one of the fans, he was walking his dog, and my guys were trying to tell him, hey, she's coming in hot. You need to move. And then finally they were just like, stay there, stay there, stay there. And I come in and he lets go of the dog. And I am a dog lover. Like if you have a dog, I'm petting it, or I'll ask if I can pet it, but I'm most likely going to pet it. So I'm like in the car, like handful of breaks, just praying that I don't even remotely come close to this dog, and maybe the dog gets scared and runs away on its own. And we didn't end up actually hitting anybody. I did come back once and take my car chief out. He was standing there with the car dolly. I was very new to driving the car. This was like one of my first years of drag racing, and I was the smallest one that could fit in the car. So they're like, yeah, you're going to drive it. I'm like, okay. And I came back and just did not grab enough brakes, or the brakes faded. I don't really remember what happened, but I definitely ran right into my car chief. I don't think he wasn't happy then. Like, I apologize. We're good now. But that was my close calls. Actually, right now, I don't pilot the car anymore. So I did. And then when Mike and everybody, we had decided that we wanted myself up on the starting line, getting track temp and really being more a part of watching the car run, because for my entire time up until coming to Clay's, I'd always gone down in the tow vehicle. I'd never actually been on the line to watch the car run and watch the tire tracks and actually see the car go down. And we really wanted me to be on the line to see that and try to advance some of the knowledge that I have. So my cylinder head guy does it now. So he goes down with the car, but yeah, I miss it and then I don't miss it. Like, I do like being the first ones to the top end, to be there with Clay, especially during round wins and stuff like that. But I also really like being on the line and seeing everything firsthand.
All right. So right here, doing some teardown after Phoenix testing. We're getting ready to roll on to Pomona. Doing some more here. Talk to me. I like this photo. I like this photo. You two are laughing.
I do too.
And having a good time. Talk to me about teammate camaraderie out there in the sport.
So I think that is one of the most important things. One of the things I was nervous about when I got my job, well, firstly, of course, you have the female thing looming in the background, and you got to think, are these guys going to see me as just one of their teammates? I've been so fortunate to be a part of two really great teams of guys that are literally like family still to this day. My team at Terry's, we still have barbecues at my house. We have wing night every Monday night. If I'm up in Indy, our whole old team goes out. But my team here, a lot of them are young. They're younger than me. So right now it's like I have 4 little brothers that I don't know if I ever asked for, but I love them to death. I think that's the most important thing, because if you can't stand side by side with each other, we're essentially dancing a choreographed dance by tearing the car apart and putting it back together. And if you have one bad egg that just kind of almost makes it impossible for everybody to get along without tension or whatever, it really can affect the overall performance of the crew, because they may not have the want to get the job done right or do something because someone's around, So I've been very fortunate that every single person I've worked with and come into contact with has just been so welcoming. And we have team bonding like you wouldn't believe. I've been whitewater rafting with my guys. We've gone zip lining together. We go bowling. We literally do everything as a team outing. We try to plan something in every city where we go out as a team and just hang out. And while I'm here in Illinois, I actually live with the 3 other guys that work here full time. So it's really cool to have that chance to become really good friends with them outside of the workplace.
So most of the time, ladies love to be expressive in their attire and their fashion. And it's kind of hard to do that in the drag racing world, because it's like all black. Everybody wears black, just black. But I have noticed that you do try to be, show some flash, if I can put it that way, whether it's your makeup. And like when I go to the track, I'm like, okay, let me see who actually showed up to the competitor the sign-up sheet, and let me go check and make sure bathrooms are actually decent for everybody. That's one of my pet peeves. Like, are bathrooms okay?
That's important.
It is important. I think it is important, yes. And then I'm like, I need to see what hairstyle Kaylynn has, because it's like always different and expressive. So what is it? How do you feel like some of those lady moments can come out through even your job and what you're doing?
So I really had to learn how to embrace that part of it, because when I first started, even in high school, I thought, you got to be one of the guys all the time. And I realized on the weekends I was dressing up girly. I love makeup, fashion, all that stuff. And I was like, there's really no necessity for me to blind that or hide that from everybody else. I mean, it's who I am. So I found a way. I found some really bomb makeup that stays all day. That's the key. And the hairstyles just came from, a few years ago, I cut my hair really short. It was probably up here, because I was so sick of dealing with it, because it was just in a ponytail every day. And when I grew it out again, I swore to myself, I'm going to learn how to braid. Like a lot of girls, maybe not that necessarily working on the track, have all these cute hairstyles, and I'm over here with a ponytail. So I still don't know how to braid to this day, but TikTok came into my life, and I learned a lot of these different hairstyles. Today I got this weird twist in. But on Sundays, you'll always see me with a very high bun in my hair. We call that the sass bun. The guys say that's where I store all of my attitude for the day. And it starts to fall throughout the day. So then my attitude starts to come out through the day too. But I just realized that it's really okay. I actually I had my nails done for something else, but I do normally have my nails done when I'm at the track. They're very useful. They're like little pliers. I am not that a guy out there is going to need that, but I'm just telling you, I didn't think they were going to be worth it, but they are. So I just like to express that a little bit, because as much as I want to hide, people see me, obviously I'm different. My voice is one of those things that I've realized people think I'm aggressive and I yell and I'm sassy. But I think that I've talked to this with a bunch of other people, that the difference is it's a female voice. You don't walk up to a pit and hear a guy, that when they say coming through hot, it sounds normal. But when I say coming through hot and I got hot clutch parts, of course, everybody's going to tune in, because you don't expect to hear my voice, I guess. So I know that a lot of the times that's kind of seen as like, I am direct, don't get me wrong. But I think a lot of the times it just kind of gets people's attention. So I just figured I'd go for it. I mean, we do live in all black all day long. So I figured if I'm going to travel the country and do this nonstop, I'm going to be who I am 24/7 and not just on the weekends.
Well, speaking of being who you are, and with the makeup, apparently you have your own line, or you're connected with a company or something of that nature. What's going on there?
I am connected with a company. It's called Beauty Society. They've been around for 16 years. They used to sell their product line in Nordstrom. Now we have a subscription box, and we do sell our line as well. When COVID hit and, we were all laid off, we were stuck, do we go get a normal job somewhere to pay our bills? Or do we, hang out, wait for racing? Because there was a long period where we're going racing next week. No, just kidding. In a couple of weeks, we're going racing. We're just kidding again. So it was so hard to go and commit. And I would never want to go work for a company for 2 weeks and then say, oh, hey, sorry, my other job called back. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. So I paired with Beauty Society, and I'm just a representative for them. And I grew my team to, I have 250, I think, around there, women underneath me. And that has also allowed myself to have an outlet for my girly side, which is been huge. And I just got back from a trip in Las Vegas with a bunch of those women, and it was super fulfilling. So I get really the best of both worlds. I got a team of women who are badass and rock stars, and then I have my team of guys here that I love to death. So really fortunate, for sure.
One of the most popular and it seems like ever rising categories of food is apparently one that you despise. What's this hate against Mexican food?
Okay. So I swear that's every time we go anywhere, every drag racer I've ever met loves Mexican food. And maybe it's not just drag racing, maybe everybody loves Mexican food. Growing up in central New York, there are not Mexican restaurants everywhere. Italian. Yeah. Italian, you can go anywhere for that. Pizza is my love language. Like a New York slice, though, I hardcore judge everybody else's pizza. But so growing up, you could go to a Mexican restaurant, but it was Tex-Mex and and it was always you got served this plate of mush with rice and beans, which was more mush to me at the time, topped with a sauce and jammed in a burrito or something. And it was all just mush and it wasn't that great. I've come to like street tacos, like real street tacos, like out of a sketchy taco truck at a truck stop. Those are the best. So I'm getting there. I just like, it's not something that I like when everyone says, let's go get something to eat. What do you want? I'm not saying Mexican. It's probably not very high on my list.
Look, hey, I agree with you though. Like street tacos, the most sketch seems like dirtiest, nastiest place, the better they are. It's no different than being in like Central Mississippi and Southern Louisiana with like meat pies and boudin. Like you feel like you're in that episode of True Detective. Like that's the place you need to go to get your boudin. It's spectacular at those places for sure.
Right.
For sure. Well, we've got Houston Raceway Park coming up. It's going to be the last one. I know you've visited there many times. Your thoughts on Houston Raceway Park for the last time?
You know, I mean, it's Houston. It has a hard place in my mind for me. You know, second race in my career is where we had that event with Terry, where we wrecked the car. And for me, at that point in time, I was blown away. At the time, I was just like, this is no big deal. Like, I'm from dirt racing, right? You just beat the panels out and you send that back out for the next heat. So I'm over here thinking like everybody's losing their mind. And I'm like, okay, I mean, we just, you know, we banged it up a little bit. We're good. And I still like totally green and dry racing. I have no idea that this is really bad. And thinking about not even having jobs after that. And of course we pulled through and had a chassis come from DSR and a lot of people. So from that moment on, Houston's always kind of had that, that bad spot in the back of my mind. But then we went to the final round there a couple years later. So I do love the track. And it's sad to see another one go. So I'm definitely going to take this one in for sure. And hopefully we can make it to the final round and bring home that Wally, because I think it would be a great way for me to kind of erase the one memory and replace it with one really badass one by the time this is all said and done. But I'm also stoked for the fans. I remember the last race in Atlanta. I don't think I've ever seen a racetrack so jam-packed in my life. And to watch them be there and commemorate all the memories that they have at that track and watching us perform for the last time there and give them a show, that was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate, maybe not the only, but the ultimate silver lining is that with a finale, people do come out to experience it and send it away properly. And Atlanta did have a packed crowd. That was my home national event. I had done junior dragsters there. I'd been on that track. Oh. It's kind of funny. I tell Justin Ashley, I'm like, Justin, I've done more laps down this track than you'll ever do. You know, that type of thing. And it was cool to be able to stand on the line and be able to work within the NHRA. And I had done junior dragsters there, and now it's gone. So definitely you get those moments and those memories created and come up. And that's the silver lining that, hey, you send it off with a big finale and people can remember it in that way, shape, and fashion. So what's the favorite track then on the circuit? What's the one that Kaylynn's like, man, I can't wait to get there?
I always say Seattle. I think it was because being an East Coast girl, and that was like the furthest place from my home in the United States that I felt like I could get to. And when we got there, for one, the drive up there from Sonoma is absolutely gorgeous. And we ended up going to my very first final round there. We lost in the final to Antron Brown on a hole shot. And we had beat Steve Torrance, Doug Coletta, and Leah that day. And for us at Terry's, I mean, it was monumental. It was such a good day for us. And I just felt like I left something behind there. You know, I really want to Wally from that place, but I just think it's gorgeous. But then, of course, in the back of my mind, I always have Indy. And I'm just very fortunate to say we were able to win there. And that still blows my mind to this day. So there's always going to be a little bit of favoritism there for the Nationals.
All right, Kaylynn, last question for you, for anyone watching, not just the ladies, but if you want to bend it towards that way, fine. Your advice on getting in and making it just as you have in the industry that you're in. As
I kind of mentioned before, CDL, huge huge beneficial thing there for sure. It was, but as far as like getting here, you know, we always talk about whether you go to a trade school or do you need schooling to be here. Really, you need a strong mechanical background. Most people, most teams expect you to be able to show up and drill and tap a hole. You know what all of your wrenches, ratchets, tooling are, stuff like that. But honestly, just to keep pushing. I mean, there's so many times I heard no, that, you know, going to that professional racing wasn't a job. You can't go and work a full-time job doing that. And I could have swore they had to be paying somebody to do it because people in NASCAR were just flying in on the weekend. So, I mean, it took me a while to find the route to get there, but networking is so huge. Like, it's just great to be on the show with you and connect with you and meet new people all the time, because you never know where that opportunity is going to lead you. I mean, even it came down to a friend at college that got me into this mess. But I have so many people I talked to from my SEMA internship and so many people from school that have gone on to different careers. And at this point, it's like, if whatever I want to do, there's so many people I could call and reach out to and say, hey, how did you make this happen? So just constantly networking, I think, is huge. And being at the track, understanding, handing out resumes, just keep pushing. There's never a no that can't fuel your next opportunity. I mean, it's literally a power in my soul that I just like, you say no, I'm doing it. I swear. So I just make that promise to myself, and I kept pushing, and I'm very fortunate to be where I am right now.
Man, very cool. Yes, I don't know how many times I have said on my own journey, no, let me just go ahead and spend the money. No, let me just go ahead and sleep in my car. No, let me just go ahead and get there to handle and cover whatever I need to. And if you say no enough to go do, you'll make it. And Kaylynn,
absolutely,
that you've made it and you are making it. And we definitely hope that we continue to see your career on the rise in the world of NHRA drag racing and possibly even F1, or maybe go back to those dirt track routes. That might be pretty cool. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. That'd be awesome.
Well, Miss Simmons, look, thank you for your time. Thank you for being on Between the Slicks, and we're going to let you go for the evening. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. It was a great opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well.
All right, folks, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the show right here on Monday Morning Racer. This Between the Slicks.
Power-Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power-Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase.
All right, drag racing fan, Between the Slicks right here on Monday Morning Racer. That was Kaylynn Simmons, the clutch specialist on Clay Millican's Top Fuel ride. No 485's like, yo, what's going on here? Well, we're going to talk to any and everybody in the world of drag racing, from little itty-bitty sanctioning bodies to all the way to the top of the NHRA. So from Funny Car Chaos, National Hot Rod Association, Professional Drag Racers Association, American Drag Racing League, Southeast Gasser Association, one-off funny car races like I'll be at this weekend there in Virginia and beyond. We want to talk about it right here on Between the Slicks. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like this video wherever you're watching it from. Be sure to subscribe on the YouTube channel, which is free. Be sure to subscribe. And we will catch you later sometime right here on Monday Morning Racer. And that time to catch live, once again, is right here on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Between the Slicks. Until next time, God bless and keep the pedal to the metal.